Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and this time we're going to be talking about a couple of deleted scenes from Return of the Jedi involving a minor character but giving him an interesting story arc that was ultimately eliminated from the final film. Return of the Jedi is obviously a classic and part of the original Star Wars trilogy, and with so many different characters and storylines, the great Moff Jerjerrod, hope I'm saying that correctly, is one of the more forgotten characters of the film, but he does kind of serve as the imperial officer foil to Vader that we see throughout the other movies with Tarkin or Piet. And Moff Jerjerrod is seems to be very confident and very fearful of the Emperor when we meet him in the opening scene of the film. Vader comes to the second Death Star to basically check on the progress and see how far along they are to completion. Jerjerrod is basically making excuses, and Vader tells him that the Emperor is coming, and Jerjerrod promises to double his efforts. Now, there's a couple of different segments to these deleted scenes, which I think were ultimately cut for time. There's not a whole lot of context as to why they were removed, but I think it was more so just trimming down the film, cutting out the fluff. They were not necessary scenes to the completion of the film, don't really impact the greater plot in any way. Like I said, it's more so just giving a little story arc to the Moff that we see in the film. And I think it makes it interesting enough to, talk about it all these years later. So, the first part of the scene, we see that Moff Jerjerrod has been instructed by the Emperor to not allow Vader to enter the throne room. Vader does not take very kindly to this news, and he confronts the Moff, who informs him he's not allowed in. Vader then proceeds to force choke the Moff, as we see the Red Guards in the background actually brandish their weapons and point them towards Vader, which, not gonna lie, that would have been really cool to see in the final movie, because we don't really get to see the Red Guards do a whole lot of anything. See them actually move more so than statues is pretty cool, in my opinion. But as he's being choked, the Moff informs Vader that it is at the Emperor's orders that he is not allowed to enter the throne room, and Vader lets him go. He does not suffer the same fate as many Imperial officer before him by being choked to death by Vader. And Vader respects the Emperor's decision and walks away. This part of the scene, I'm not sure. I think it was just meant to, again, just add more context to his character. But it's really this part where we see the Emperor informing the Moff that if the rebels are able to destroy the shield generator on the forest moon of Endor, he is to turn the Death Star towards the moon and fire, essentially destroying the entire forest moon of Endor. And his reaction here is very interesting because one of the first thoughts that goes through his mind is, well, I have to follow orders, but we have several Imperial battalions stationed on the moon. This the Emperor does not care about. And I think it is one of those moments where someone that has dedicated their life to the Empire and being loyal to that cause starts to realize, like, wow, they're really that uncaring. Like, what about me? If that were me in that situation, they wouldn't hesitate to sacrifice my life for their cause. And he definitely struggles with the decision. You can really see it on his face as he's contemplating, what he is about to do. And once they get in range and they have the ability to fire on the planet, he hesitates. And interestingly enough, it is this moment of hesitation that saves the lives of the heroes down on the moon of Endor, because moments later, the Death Star is destroyed by Lando and Wedge in their assault going through the unfinished portion of the battle station. And his moment of hesitation and really thinking through what he's about to do does change the fact that if they had just went ahead and fired on the moon, although the Death Star would have likely still been destroyed because it wouldn't have stopped the fighter assault, the Rebel Alliance would have suffered a great loss. So you'd be talking about the deaths of Leia, Han, the droids, Chewbacca, and ultimately could have led to the events of the throne room with Luke playing out very differently. So it's one of those things, and Star Wars does a good job of showing us those shatterpoint moments where a character makes a decision or doesn't make a decision, and it can make all the difference. So I am bummed that they left these out of the movie because I think it does add another layer of humanity to these very robotic, by the book imperial officers that we see so often. And though he doesn't disobey orders or anything like that. He goes through with the firing, but he does hesitate and he does contemplate it, and it is acted very well, and you see that amount of stress on his face. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Just wanted to talk about these deleted scenes because I thought they were interesting. And again, it's always fun to add more context to the more minor characters of the Star Wars universe, and that in my mind is always a good thing. Well, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're not. You don't want to miss out on any of the content we put out here at Star Wars United. Leave a comment below and let me know if you think these scenes should have been left in the film. And as always, may the Force be with you. Now let's blow up that like button and go home.